Hello, welcome to the Crafty Maven Getaway podcast. This is your host, Hannah, and today I have a special guest with me. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Howdy, howdy, y'all. It's Shannon from Creative Chaos in Tennessee.
Yay! I'm super excited to have you with me today. We are continuing our series on creative identity. So all the stuff that we're kind of talking about today is going to that's going to be in the back of our minds. And I'm super excited because I love watching your channel. I love that it's essentially chaos. You know, there's always something for, it's like, what kind of style do I want to see today? And I love that there's just a plethora of different ways to be inspired. And you do a lot on your channel, and I love it. So I will make sure that I link in the show notes or in the info box where people can find you so that they can follow you and they can see what you're all about and your style. But I love that when I see your stuff, I know that's Shannon. and the accent definitely helps,
Yeah.
So
Well,
as being a
all,
New Yorker,
it's all I've got.
as being a New Yorker, and I've lived a lot of other places, I know, I have a pretty generic accent, though every once in a while I do get asked, where are you from? Because I can't tell. But it's always fun to hear people from the South. You guys just sound so sophisticated. So that's just a perk for watching your channel. So today we're going to talk about learning from other styles without losing your own style. And I thought that this would be a good topic today because I don't know if you're anything like me, but there's been times where I'm working on something and I come out of making a layout or a project and I'm like, is that me? Where am I in this? And as I've gotten or come along in my scrapbooking journey, I've know more and more I can find those pieces. But I think we all want to have a project where when we see it, we go, oh, that's that person, right? And so within our questions and our talking today, I want to just kind of leave the audience and leave everybody who's listening with that idea of like, how do I add myself to what I'm seeing, how I'm being inspired? Like, how do I do that? How does that translate as I'm creating? And some of it is, and I know I've been talking a lot about this, so everybody's going to hate it, is your reason why is a big thing, but also knowing your own style and learning that. So one of my first questions for you today, Shannon, is when in your process did it click that, oh, this is the style that is me?
Well, kind of, I'm always ever changing. I feel like, anyways, like you said, whenever you see my stuff, that you automatically know it's me. Lots of people do say that. But I'm always like, does it really look that much the same? But I feel like it's been ever changing. Maybe like I've been scrapbooking for like 28 years now. And it's been maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago when, because I wanted to be a collector of all the things and all the things and add all the things. And I always tell my whole family, you can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Yeah.
So, you can be good at stuff, but to me, it's not even about being good at things. It's just doing what you love. If you love it, it doesn't matter to anyone else. And maybe 10 or 20 years ago, I realized, I've collected these things, but I don't necessarily love them. Like I've tried to do what other people's done, but it don't feel like something I love that I get excited about. And what I want to do, I want to get excited about whatever I'm doing every time I do it so that I love it, because that's what's most important, is that you love it. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's your project. It's you being
Yeah.
creative and expressing yourself, and it's your album or whatever you create, junk journal or whatever. But it's all about doing what you love and being creative in the process. So
Yeah.
probably 10 or 12 years ago, I realized, there's these few things that I always use every time I create. So usually pattern paper. I love pattern. I will never not love pattern. I love the pastel and the girly and the soft feminine stuff. I love flowers. I can use flowers on any layout. I don't care what it's about. I can use flowers. And like bling of some sort. I love my bling, and I will use bling. So even if I had nothing else other than pattern paper, bling, and flowers, and then my scissors and glue and some cardstock, I could be set, because I can create anything I love just using those, even if I had nothing else. Like that's essentially me.
Well, and it's always good to have to know a few things. And I know I asked people last week to really sit down and take the time to think, when you come to your table and your desk, what are you most excited to do or use? And I think that is a great place to start, is what are these things that you really love? And if you love something, it's going to come through. People are going to be excited. They're going to be inspired. Nothing is more of a killjoy of inspiration is when I watch a channel of somebody, and there's no one in particular that comes to mind, so I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but there's some times where you watch a channel and maybe they're just having an off day or whatever, but you just don't, it doesn't seem like they are enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like I go away thinking, okay, what can I pull out of this? But they weren't excited. Yeah. They weren't inspired by what they were using. And I get, like I said, we all have days where we are like, oh, I got to try to make this work, or we're figuring it out. And I think one of the things that I was trying to think about this week is, how can we really help newer scrapbookers, or people who don't, or people in the paper crafting world who don't maybe know who they are and are still trying to figure it out? Because I was thinking about when I started, and I just couldn't get enough of everything, right? Like you said, we're all collectors of things. And we want to try everything. But at the end of the day, we kind of have to scale back, because at some point, it's not you that's on the page, it's everybody else. And I love that we can be inspired by everybody in our community, and whether it's online, whether it's in the magazines, all that kind of stuff. But how do we figure that out when we just don't know? And really, it's all about playing, but you do have to scale back. And I don't even know if I have like this great epiphany of advice for people, except for try something, but know who you are as a person. So, and it's so weird because, and I was thinking about this because I'm like, Hannah, this just seems so easy. It seems so simple, who you are. But I was really thinking about, like, when I come to my desk, it's about letting go of the parts of me that I don't care about, but also really enjoying the parts of me that I absolutely love. And I think that for me, that has been a really good experience while I'm creating. It's to just think, what kind of person am I? It's like, yeah, sometimes I'm a little chaotic. Sometimes I'm a lot chaotic. Sometimes I'm a lot. It's like, I know I like to talk. I just go over the top. And when I'm creating and I really love something, it's because I went over the top on my page.
Yeah.
Like, and I probably could have added more, and maybe I'll tone down because then I hear myself, I'm like, okay, Hannah, I don't have to add every single flower, or I don't have to add every single splatter of paint, but I just can't help myself.
Yeah.
So really thinking about who you are, what are the things that you love about yourself? And I know that gets uncomfortable because sometimes we just don't want to think about ourselves. And I feel like this happens a lot sometimes in scrapbooking because we are thinking, what do I want to leave behind for my family? What kind of things do I think, pages do I think are going to be important to remember? And we get so caught up in all these other things when we come down to make a layout that's going to go in an album or a mini album or whatever project we're working on. We're trying to think of all these different things, but sometimes we forget about ourselves and who we are. Because if we're enjoying what our project is, then when our family looks through it, they're going to remember those. And I guarantee, and I was talking to Kathy about this too, the things that I remember from growing up are not maybe the moments that you would think. It's the little things of my mom and my aunt being goofy, at the lake.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's like, so these little things. And so when we take the time to really enjoy ourselves, then those are probably the moments when our family are enjoying themselves at events, or when we're enjoying ourselves when we're on a hike and we see, this pretty flower or plant or whatever. I know when I'm hiking, my family absolutely hates it because I have to stop every 3 seconds.
Mine too. They're like, are we ever gonna get there?
Yeah. And but I know that they're going to remember that, right? So if I'm taking that concept and when I come to my table, that I think just helps establish kind of who I am. And then the rest of it is all about playing. It's all about trying new things, but it's kind of sticking to those few things. And I know it takes a while. It just takes time. And it also takes consistent time, because I feel like when I'm not consistently going to my scrap table and I'm not taking that extra time to think through, like, what kind of pictures do I want to do? If I'm doing that when I have to create, I was thinking about this when I first started coming back to the sharing stuff online. I wouldn't think about what pictures I was gonna use. And I'm sitting down and I'm like looking through, and I spent so much time looking through photos instead of taking that time to do it ahead of time. So when we're not at our scrap table thinking about, oh, what kind of moments are inspiring me, then when we get to our scrap table, that part is already taken care of. But we have to know what we love. We have to know kind of who we are. And like I said, I know that's uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable. And it's easier for me to sit here and say, oh, because for me, maybe I'm more used to it. But when we get more comfortable with it, then our families just enjoy it. We enjoy the process because it's all about filling our cup, right?
Yeah. I kind of have a different view than you. I mean, I agree with all the things you said, but like for me, when I'm creating, I don't think about my family. I mean, I love my family, and that's what my whole life is based around. My husband, my kids, my grandbabies, my cats, my garden, my life in general. But like when I sit down, I have the mindset, I guess, when I sit down to create, I don't care what they think about it. I don't care if they like it. My teenagers, I have 2 teenagers still at home, 17 and 18. And my 18-year-old son, he was like, he said something, and I was like, well, you know what? Y'all can just fight over these when I'm dead. And he was like, we don't want your books. And Brooke's like, I do. And Blake's like, I don't care. We could just throw them in the trash. And, and a lot of people would be like, oh, but I'm like, it's just this generation. Like they don't want a bunch of stuff. It's more and more where, they want less and less like things. They want more of experiences and things like that. And for me, scrapbooking is for me.
Mm-hmm.
My family gets to enjoy it in the future, and they love it when I'm gone or whatever, because they don't get my books. Sometimes I'll create books as gifts, but they're my books until I'm dead. They're not taking them. But when I sit down to create, I agree. It is about what you love, and you do have to play around some to find that out. I don't feel like there's a lot of new scrapbookers, so to speak, because I don't know. My kids are like, it's an old lady hobby. It's all old ladies. And usually if I go out for any kind of scrapbook events, I'm the baby of the group.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm 43, but like everybody's like, oh, you're a baby, because it is older ladies, because back then photos were precious. It was something that you didn't have a camera, or even a fancy camera that could snap 5 million pictures in 2 seconds. You was very thoughtful about what pictures you were going to take, and then you money to develop them, and then they may have not even turned out good. So they were precious to you, and it's that generation that scrapbooks, because and that's like I was born in the 80s and grew up in the
me too.
We didn't all have cell phones growing up, and
No.
sometimes I'm a little sad with that, because there's not pictures of me out being crazy with my friends.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of pictures in general of me whenever I was young, because I did grow up poor. And but I'm glad that I have that childhood, and it makes me sad for my kids that they don't have the type of childhood that I had, because I honestly believe I grew up in the best era. And so, but when I sit down to create, like I said earlier, I have my basics, my stock, my pattern paper, my bling, my flowers, scissors, glue. Anything else is just a bonus, essentially. But you can do a lot and create a lot just using those things without having everything else. But you have to kind of find your why of why you scrapbook, why you want to create the memories. Is it for you? Is it for your family? Are you creating gifts for someone? But it's just about actually making the time to sit down and be creative, because you do feel so much better. I mean, who has ever said, oh, I sat down to craft, but I'm just so depressed now. Like, it's just made me feel so much worse. I mean, we don't. We do that to pour everything into what we're creating, and sometimes we love it and sometimes we don't. But like with life, everything, it isn't. Oh, yeah. And I didn't say, like, I just wanted to say, I don't normally dress like this, but I'm
So Shannon, tell us, where are you today?
I'm at a crop. I'm actually at a scrapbook weekend retreat at Scrap at Your Retreats in Cleveland, Tennessee. And I don't get to come very often, but it is a cropping to the cows come home. So we had to dress up in order. We just did our group pictures right before I came in here.
I love the hat. So I grew up in the country in New York, and we had cows was our big thing. That's agriculturally, that's what cows and corn, but the corn was to feed the cows. So so I mean, that's driving through the country roads.
When I think of New York, I don't think cows and
I
think skyscrapers and
nope. We're all most of the and I have to remind people this all the time, because my boss, because she is from she moved to New York City when she came to the United States. And she'll often think, because she knows I'm from New York, but she thinks New York City. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like most of New York is all empty. I mean, you have some big cities, like Rochester, Syracuse and stuff, and I grew up near Albany, New York. So that's up near the capital, but to get to Walmart, it's 20 minutes and you're driving past tons of cows. And, it's like when I was learning how to drive, it's like there was a few times the cows got out. Actually, we had one of my favorite memories growing up. It's the 4th of July, and across from my grandmother's trailer was a cow farm, and the cows got out, and it's the 4th of July. So I don't even know they probably weren't even home to know that the cows got out. And my mom's using my cousin as a human shield because she wasn't even thinking. She was panicking because this cow's, meandering over. I don't think he was going to do or she was going to do anything. It wasn't a boy cow, but yeah. Oh my gosh. So fun. So fun. So I hope you're having a ton of fun. I love going to crops just so I can see what other people are creating and I can sit chat. I get hardly anything done, but I know that's how I am.
I've got barely anything done all weekend, but I'm like, I could sit at home and scrapbook any day of the week with all of my things, So when I come to a crop, I pack super minimally. I brought stuff to work on embellishments this time, but I just come to make friends and be able to chat with other people who scrapbook, because it is it's a very small percentage these days versus card makers and junk journalers and, the people who like doing planners. So.
Yeah, I know we're an ever growing, or like I say growing, the paper crafting world as a whole, I feel like is growing. I feel like you see so many more people just playing with papers and stuff, but it looks different. Like you said, like art journaling. I've been watching a ton of art journaling stuff just because I find it like really interesting how they use papers differently. And actually last weekend, I was busy trying to do stuff for the kids, but I'm like, I really need to get creative. I really have to play with paper and I have to create some texture. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take what I was watching and just put papers without thinking, oh, I'm going to add a picture to it, because a lot of times I'm thinking, where am I going to put my picture on this page? But I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. And I created a layout that has I don't know if I'm going to add a picture. I don't know. I just layered stuff and I had so much fun because I was using a different part of my brain, and I got to be creative. And it's like, as much as I love building kits for people and I love thinking about all that stuff, nothing compares to sitting down at my table and just getting messy and playing with the textures and playing with the colors and all that kind of stuff. It just fills my cup up, and it really does help me so that when I am doing all the stressful things, all the busy things of life, and I know when we were talking beforehand, you were saying how you really used it as therapy.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. And I think that's what helped me fall in love with scrapbooking, because my oldest daughter had cancer when she was 4. And she did a trip, and my husband was like, my husband at the time was like, why don't you do a album for her, a scrapbooking album? How he thought of scrapbooking, I don't know, because I don't even think his mom doesn't do that. And so I was like, okay. And so I'm, looking up on scrapbook.com. I'm looking up on the internet, and this is the great age of scrapbooking online. Like there's so many forums and all this stuff. And so I'm just like eating all these things up, and within that it became therapy. It gave me something to focus on that wasn't all the horrible, icky, yucky parts of cancer that you have to deal with. And then when I was taking photos, I could take pictures of the moments that were precious, the smiles, because you still, even within horrible and hard times, you still have those moments that are art of laughter, of smiles, of, silliness. And it really helped. And I also lived in a beautiful place. I was in Hawaii then. And so I could use nature as a way to escape for a little bit. And it really just, so I was like, I found it and I was all go. So one of my questions is when did you know that you were falling in love with scrapbooking?
Well, I've been scrapbooking for 28 years, so a long time ago. I got married and pregnant when I was 15, and I don't know if y'all know, if you remember the Women's Day catalog. Or magazine. I don't even know if it still comes out.
I don't know if they still make it, but yeah, I know which one.
Yeah. The Women's Day magazine, it has all the get skinny fast and,
yeah, right.
grow your hair and whatever, use these tips, But I used to get it, and I would look through it, and they had an advertisement for scrapbooking to create your own album. And before that, I had kind of already been doing scrapbooking, like on construction paper and putting my pictures on there and stuff. And I saw where you could get a monthly kit, and it was called Memories in the Making.
Okay.
And they sent you an album, and then they sent you the insert pages, and the page protectors, and then every month they would send you like so many new pages and that you could create, and they would like send you the plastic templates that you trace, get your shape, and they sent you a picture of what your layout would look like. So like I still have my very first album that I ever created from all of those things, but one of them, like my favorite one, was a caterpillar, and you cut out.
I could see where that it was
pages. They would send they would send just like some scrapbook, pattern paper. It was the real flimsy, stuff. But you would cut your pictures in a circle, and then but it showed you how to lay it all out and to do your journaling and your titles. All that, and they would send you like the micro pen marker, like the skinny Sharpies, so that you could do like the little doodle part in your title to write it.
Yeah.
I got that every month, and I absolutely love that. And I was, like I said, just got married, and I was pregnant, and I had a baby on the way. So like that very first album I made is mostly just all her. It has my ultrasound pictures in it, the pictures of me getting married, and like all of her, growing up. But I absolutely loved it and knew, okay, this is just even better because I'd already been doing it on construction paper. So 28 years ago. So I've saw lots of things come and go over time, and I've been one of those people who want to do it all, but you can't do it all. You have to find what you love. And sometimes, if you think you might be interested in something and you have a crafty friend, borrow some supplies from that crafty friend and try it out instead of going all out and spending all this money on things you decide, I hate this. You know, this is not something I want to do. It stresses me out because there is some crafting that will stress you out. Like I tried basket weaving and I was like, I just want to throw this. I hate it. Diamond dots. My mother loves them and she blesses me with all her extra diamond dots. And I'm like, yes, I can use them, little blings. But I will not sit there and do a diamond art. It's just stressful for me. I'm like, I feel like I just can't do it for me personally. And you have to find what you love as a crafter. Play with different things and see what you love, what inspires you, try to rein it in, like where your inspiration's coming from. Like, are you getting inspiration from seeing other people's things and what they've created? Does that inspire you? Do you want to create what they're creating? Or you get inspiration from the world around you? Like mine is my flowers. Like each one is unique, and I love that. And I draw color inspiration from them. Just different things. Like I've tried to recreate paper, like 3D paper flowers of my flowers, just looking at the shape of them and the colors and things like that. So you just have to find what you love. Like when you go to create, what do you reach for? Like what are those basic things that you reach for and that you're always using? You know, whenever you're stuck and you feel uninspired and you're like, I just don't know what to do, I'm overwhelmed, pull out those things, that basic, the little basic list, you know, of things that you love. For me, it's cardstock, pattern paper, flowers, bling, you know, glue. I love to fussy cut. I can fussy cut some pattern paper with flowers on it all day. I don't care. I love it. And then I'll use them as embellishments. And not everybody loves fussy cussing.
Yeah, I hate fussy cutting, but I love the way it looks. So I will put up with the part of it of the actual doing it. Well, and I find like if I do it when I'm watching TV or whatever, like a movie, then it's not as bad. So it gives my brain something to do while I'm watching. So you know, I'm not just sitting still, but then when I'm done, I have all these things that I can
That's like stitching. I bought a sewing machine just to sew on my layouts.
Me too.
Like, just because I love it, but to hand stitch on a layout, I hate it. I do not like doing it. I don't want to do it. It stresses me out. I'm like, this is a waste of time. You know, so you just have to find your thing and what you love and then make time to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a big thing, to actually create time to be creative, because, you know, you'll feel so much better. You're not going to say, well, I just hate that, I wasted time.
Well, and if it is, then that's an indicator that you need to find either maybe this part of paper crafting isn't your thing. Maybe it's cards, maybe it's, you know, and because I think sometimes we want to pigeonhole ourselves because the trends or everybody else is doing this thing or that thing. And it's just remembering, like, no, I like this. You know, like I love doing mixed media. When I first started, that was not a thing. And I struggled hard at the beginning because I'm like, no, everybody or a lot of the main companies weren't hiring people who were doing mixed media. So it just kind of took a little while, but I continued to stay doing it because I loved it. And I loved getting the messy part on the page. Like I loved creating textures with the paper, with the different products that I was using. And so I stuck to it. And I've tried other things, you know, I tried to use to do more blocky things and grids and a lot of sketches, and I will go back to that kind of stuff on occasion to just switch things up, but I can't live there in that space. So it's like keeping what makes you happy and letting go of what doesn't, and not worrying about like, oh, am I fitting in the trend? Because they're always going to change. I mean, you being in the industry and in the community for so long, I'm sure even more so, like I know I've seen a big influx of how things have changed over, and even where you get your inspiration has changed a great deal. It used to be a lot on forums and stuff, and now like there's hardly anywhere where I don't even know if there's any forums around really. I know
back in the day, it was Yahoo groups. Like I met so many people through Yahoo groups, like
that's awesome.
You know, all that stuff, you know, it's just don't exist anymore. But yeah, it's ever changing all the time. Like I've saw so much stuff come and go, and you know that's one thing I guess I struggle with as being a content creator is how do you keep it fresh and new, but you'll keep it you, because it's me and I love doing the same thing over and over. I do it in different ways, but I'm still using pretty much the same things. I have my own style and my own way of doing it, and I can only do stuff, you know, the way I do it. And how do you keep people coming back for that? That's what I love about it, because to me it's more about the community versus, because I don't see myself as a teacher. Everybody's like, you're such a good teacher. I actually taught a doodle class while I've been here at the Croc. It's been fun. And one lady I actually taught it back in, I think it was September, maybe. I'm not sure. Last year I went to a crop. That's the last time I was at an actual crop. But it was an autism awareness crop, and I taught the doodle class for the first time, and it was my first time ever teaching a class, so I was super nervous. But one lady that was there, she's at this crop also, and she said that inspired her. And I just showed like basic flower doodles, which I showed it on the channel also. But she took it so much further, and like she has created literally 20 plus pages with doodles that she drew out. And she's done bunnies. She even drew out a truck in the Tennessee, like for
oh my god,
with the dog, a football.
Yeah.
And I mean, like she has done so much. She did baby themed, and I was like, that is crazy. Like, and she was like, once you showed me, it inspired me so much because it's so relaxing just to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you never know where you're going to get your inspiration, but I'm like, that was sweet. And that blessed my heart. Cause like, I didn't know that until I got here this weekend. And she was like, look what, you showed me last year and I've done. So that was exciting for me. People tell me all the time, you're such a good teacher and you inspire me, but I don't always feel that way because I'm just doing
what you love.
What I love and what I know how to do. I mean, it might not even be the correct way whenever I do mixed media and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's correct to me because that's just how I know how to do it. And so it's really, I mean, you really just have to play around some and find out what you love and what you don't love. And you know.
Yeah, I think that also being intentional about like trying one thing out at a time, because like you can easily get caught up and then you think you got to buy all the stuff for that one thing,
and it's overwhelming,
and it does become overwhelming, and then you find out I didn't like that and I just spent all this money. Like manual dies, everybody was doing it, was a super big thing, so I'm like, oh, I gotta get, so I asked for Christmas, and then I'm buying all these dies, and then I find out that the die machine that I have didn't fit the dies that I needed, and I joined a subscription, Pink Fresh Studio. They had dies in their little media kits that they were making, so I liked all the other things, but it was a perk that there was a die in it. And so I'm like getting all that. And then I realized I don't like dies. I barely use them.
Yeah.
So
I like them both. I like my Cricut. That's kind of like Cricut, and you had to buy all the cartridges and do all the things, and then it all went digital, and all that became pointless. I mean, there's one lady at the crop that's actually still using a cartridge-based Cricut, and I'm like, wow, you go, girl.
Right?
I've had a Cricut ever since the baby bug came out, but like, I don't even know if I could use my cartridge-based one because it's so the new one is so different. Like, but I love my Cricut and my die machine, and I held out on die machines until probably maybe 3 years ago. I finally broke down and got one. But I love them both, but for different reasons. But I think it's mostly because of where I do lots of swaps with other people in groups. Yeah. And on my Cricut, I can just put everything. If I need to make 10 of one thing, it's super easy to put it on there, let it all cut out, assembly line, put it together, versus a die where I can only, crank one through at a time.
Right.
So if I'm creating for myself, or, just maybe 2 of something, I'll use my die cutter if I have dies for it. And I also like bigger embellishments. I mean, I like embellishing a lot, but I also like using bigger embellishment. I'm not one of those cluster 50 tiny little things together. That is not me. And I've learned I do not like that. It don't make me happy, I like using some bigger things and then a few things to create a cluster, but that's just me. And I think you just have to, like you said, play around and find what you love and what you don't love and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So as we're closing out today, Shannon, what is one tip that you have for people who've been scrapbooking for a long time to not get stuck in a rut of doing the same thing? Because I feel like, especially for me, sometimes I get so used to just doing things because I know I love it and not like stretching out and going outward, because I'm like, oh, one, I also know, as I've been doing this for a while, that it might lead me down the path of spending a ton of money. So how do you stick true to yourself and not stay in a rut? So what tip would you have for people who've been in it for a while, not staying in a rut, but still being themselves?
What I like to do is when I start feeling like that, like I feel like I'm uninspired but I want to create something, or I feel overwhelmed, I'll look up or go back, because we all have our Pinterest boards, we all have things saved, maybe on Instagram. We save different things we see that we're like, oh, that's cool, I want to do that, and then we'll save it thinking, oh, we're going to come back later, and we don't. My tip, I guess, would be to go to your boards, go to wherever you find your inspiration, and look up something that you've been wanting to do but haven't necessarily had time to do, and then just play with that thing.
Yeah.
That's what I did with the Vicky Booten class that she did for that Christmas, for that gel printing thing. And like I said, I created probably 20 prints front and back, and I absolutely loved it. I love the way they turned out. I haven't actually made anything from them, but just spending the day playing with something different and doing something different that I had never done before, but I had wanted to, like, I was fine with not making a complete project. And I'll use them at some point. I'm sure I'll probably create the tag flip that like Vicky did, but I would say just go to your boards or wherever you have your inspiration. TikTok, I don't do TikTok personally, but I am on Instagram, not as much as I am Facebook.
Yeah, I know Facebook, I'm on there a lot.
But go to wherever and look and find one of those things that you put on your to do in the future list and actually do it now in the present.
I love that piece of advice and a tip, because I think sometimes I forget that, like, I have these things that I've saved. I mean, I'm the queen of saving things, but then I'll forget to go in and find it.
Me too. Me too. And I never go back.
Right?
Yeah.
And this year I've made it more of a habit to do that continuously. So I think one thing, my tip would be, is think about your habits when you come into your scrap room and maybe switch up your habits a little bit. So if you're always going to one specific place for inspiration, maybe go somewhere else. If you're, and maybe it's part of the process. Maybe it's switching up how your process looks. It's like, because I think sometimes we just get bogged down by all the things that we want to do, or that maybe we just didn't have enough time to think ahead of time before we come to our desk, and we're just so excited, but then you get there and you're exhausted from the week. I know, like, that happens to me a lot. I'll get exhausted because I'm raising teenagers and I homeschool. So, like, sometimes even just making sure that they're doing their chores and they're doing their, they're getting outside, because they're teenagers. They want to be inside all day. And all of these things that I'm having to do, it takes a little bit of that time to get out of that cloudiness of all the other things and put that away. So my tip would be is to switch up your routine, or switch up where you're getting your inspiration. So that's my tip, is switch things up. Switch it up.
And it's not just with scrapbooking. I think all creatives get in a rut, and that's great advice to go somewhere else than your norm, or do it different if you are like a scrapbooker and you always scrapbook in order, or you always start with photos first and then add everything. Maybe do it backwards. Maybe pick out paper that you've been dying to use that you absolutely love and work on creating a layout, and then go find some pictures to match it instead of starting out with pictures and then matching everything to that. I mean, sometimes it's just about doing it in a different order or a different way than what you would normally do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's even helpful for people who've not been doing maybe scrapbooking that long and they're still trying to find their style. It's like switching things up, because then you kind of figure out which way do you like. Sometimes we get so caught up in wanting to use all the products or do all the trends, but and we should be trying all these things, because as creators, we should be growing. It's like if you stay in the same place, it's not necessarily about not doing the things that you love. It's just about doing it differently. And maybe switch up the techniques or switch up. And it just looks different for everybody. And I know that not everybody scrapbooks consistently or as prolific. I've been very prolific in the past, and I'm starting to be more prolific. But and so that does change things, but just even also being consistent. I know you mentioned earlier about making sure you're scheduling the time. And I think just even that is a great tip, is taking the time to schedule the time to get to your desk, because we can easily put it off, especially if you're not a content creator. You can easily put it off because you're like, oh, I got this other thing and this other thing. And making a priority to think about being creative, because it is such a great outlet. It will help just make your life so much better.
Yeah. And don't think about, oh, I'm so far behind, I'll never be called up, because people get overwhelmed automatically before they even start.
Yeah.
But I would say, be creative, even if it's just 15 minutes a day or 15 minutes, even a week, if that's the only time, that you have, then do that. Even if you're just going in and touching your supplies and thinking, or trying something new, a new technique or something like that, it will help, just even 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and even like sometimes I find that like, oh, I can't actually make a layout, or I can't do this thing. I just, even like you said, taking 15 minutes and doing something else that's creative in my room, even sometimes just organizing things.
Yeah.
Picking
sometimes
up.
I go in and clean up
on my desk.
Yeah.
Like I have 15 minutes, I can do that. So with that said, we are going to end today. It was super fun talking with you. I know we talked for quite a while before we recorded today, and I just had a blast getting to know you more, Shannon. If you want to message me where like all the places people can find you, so I can make sure I list that below, I'll make sure that everybody can know where to find you, your Facebook group. I know you were saying that you have a Facebook group, and that's super fun. I love Facebook groups. That's like where I flourished in my early days.
I have Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and it's Creative Chaos in Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Everywhere?
Everything. Yeah.
I love when people do that, because then it makes it super easy. And I've tried to do that. Of course, now I have the Crafty Maven and me, which that's a whole other slew of things, which is,
Yeah.
But I love it when it's super easy, because then it's easy to find everybody. And because I know, like I said, I love Facebook for the fact that we all get to have interactions and we all get to communicate, and it's super fun. I know that people get it on Instagram differently, but I find that Instagram isn't as inviting for that kind of dialogue. And maybe I'm just not on the right people's pages. I don't know. But
I think it's great to go for inspiration, but not necessarily to build a relationship. with people because you're just, it's kind of like TikTok and you're just getting, you know, pictures and reels and stuff.
Yeah, so. It's so easy to do that death scroll.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like do. It's like and sometimes I scroll so much and I've got so much inspiration. It's like it doesn't sink in when I'm doing that. But well, and that's also why I love YouTube, because I sit down and watch a whole person's process, and you really get to know that person as you watch their process, but then you get to listen to them, and it's like if you scrap and watch, I can't scrap and watch because I'll end up just watching. So a lot of times I'll watch it at night when I'm relaxing and stuff, and I'll put it on. I mean, Mercy Tierra has been my, you know, bedtime friend for the longest time. When I first started, it's like I would just fall asleep to watching her channel and all that stuff. And of course, now there's so many people, I feel like I don't get to watch everybody, but that's always fun. And so especially if you're someone who can scrap and watch at the same time, it's like you have your own scrapbooking buddy and everything. Anyway, I'm going to let you go so you can get back to your crop and get some stuff made and done. And I can't wait to see all the goodies that you've made while you were there. And thank you for joining me today. And I want everyone to know that next week on Saturday, I'll be posting another episode. I'm not sure who's the guest next week, but we're going to have another guest, and we're going to be continuing to talk about our creative identity. So thank you for joining me, Shannon, and have a great week. Bye, everyone.